Okay, good afternoon students. In the last class we have discussed about that harvesting system, harvesting step. Now see, there is a very important, that is a storage method. It is a very important task in the agriculture field. In the agriculture field. Dear students, the storage is the last. These are the last steps in the agriculture field. Dear students, it is a very important things. Which one? That is the storage method. In the last class, we have discussed about harvesting, winnowing, and threshing, these all things. Yes or no? Now see, there is a storage method. Dear students, the storage of produce is an important task. Storage of produce is an important task in the agriculture field, in the crop production. In the crop production, it is the last step. What is that? That is the storage. The storage of a produce is an important task. It's important steps. It's the last steps in the agriculture field. Dear students, if the storage of produce is an important task. Dear students, if the harvested grains are to be kept for a longer time, in the longer time, they should be shade. They should be shade from the moisture, and also insect, and also from the rats, and also from the microorganisms, and also from the microorganisms. Dear students, the harvested grains, if the harvested grains are to be kept for a longer time, the time they should be shaved. They should be shaved from the moisture, and from the insect, and from the rats, and the microorganisms, Dear friends, the harvested grains have more moisture. The recently harvested or harvested grains have more moisture. So that's why we are, if freshly harvested grains or seeds, grains is nothing but there is a seeds are stored without drying. Without drying, in that time they may get spoiled. They may get spoiled or attacking by the organisms. In that time, making them unfit for use. They are unfit for use, and also they are unfit for that germination also. So that's why before storing them, which one? The grains are properly dried or properly dried, and also in the sun to reduce the moisture in them. So before going to the storage of the grains or storage of the seeds, must and should dry that seeds or that grains, because it is not good without drying that seeds to store. Dear students, the harvested grains have more moisture. The harvested grains have a more moisture, and also they should be shaved from that moisture. But the grains have more moisture. The time the fresh harvested grains, seeds are stored without drying. If you store without drying, that time it is affect to that seeds or that grains. The time that grains or that seeds, they may get spoiled. And also are attacked by the organisms. It's making them unfit for us also, and it is unfit for the germination also. Do you know about the germination of seeds or germination of grains? The seed is converted into seedlings. That is the germination process. For that process, it is unfit. Which one? That is particular selected grains or selected seeds. So that's why before storing them, before storing that seeds, before storing that grains, the grains or the seeds are properly dried in the sun to reduce the moisture in them. To reduce the moisture in them. Okay. So hence before storing them, the grains or the seeds are properly dried in the sun to reduce that moisture in them. Okay. This prevents the attack by the insects and the pests and the bacteria and the fungi. Okay. Hence, before storing them, the grains or seeds are properly dried in the sun to reduce the moisture in them. And also, dear students, this prevents the attacking. This prevents the attacking by the insects and the pests and the bacteria and the fungi. Okay. So this prevents the attacking by the insects, pests and bacteria and the fungi, and also the farmers store the seeds, the farmers store the grains in jute bags, or metallic binds, because the jute bags and metallic binds protects the seeds. That metallic binds and the jute bags protect the seeds from the insects and from the moisture and from the microorganisms and from the rats. So these category, the jute bags and the metallic binds are very useful for that the production of that seeds as well as grains in the storage unit. The storage steps is very important. It's the main steps in the crop production. In the crop production, the farmers store the grains in the jute bags or metallic binds. However, the large scale of storage of the grains. Is done in a silos and the granaries to protect them from the pests like the rats and the insects. Yes, students. One more time, see. However, the large scale of storage of the grains is done in the silos. The silos is a place. In that place, we store the grains. We store that, which one? Seeds. In where? In the silos. So it is in the silos, you can see the large scale of storage of the grains. You can see that large scale storage of the grains, large scale storage of the seeds is done in the silos only. Is done in the silos. You can see in the small scales, where we are using the jute bags and the metallic binds. We are using that metallic binds and the jute bags in the small scale, especially in the home or in the farmhouse. We are using the jute bags and the metallic binds for storage of the grains or for storage of the seeds. Clear all of you? But in the large scale. But if you can see that in the large scale, the storage of the grains is done by the silos. The storage of the seeds is done by the silos. Clear all of you? Silos. And then the granaries to protect them, the seeds or the grains, to protect them from the pests like the rats and the insects. As you have seen, how the jute bags, how the metallic binds protects the seeds, protects the grains from the insects, from the rats, from the microorganisms. As you have seen in the large scale, the storage of the grains is done by silos. That silos that protects the grains, protects the seeds from the microorganisms, from the rats, from the insects, or from the moistures. Which one? That's the silos. The silos, it is in only large scale of storage. Large scale of storage of a grains or of a seeds. Clear all of you? Okay. The dried, see. Okay. Dear students, now see the dried neem leaves. Which one? The dried neem leaves are used for the storing of the food grains at a home. You can see in the villages, especially in the village area, the farmers store the grains. The farmers store the seeds. Where? In the jute bags. Yes or no? Gonichila. Yes or no? The bags we are using, but in that time the dried neem leaves we are using. We are using that dried neem leaves are used for the storage foods, storing the foods, grains at the home. At the home. Clear all of you? Yes, see students, dried neem leaves are used for storing the foods, grains at the home. At the home. So in the home, we are using that dried neem leaves are in the for storing that grains or seeds in the home. in the home. Dear students, first, dried neem leaves are used for storing the food grains at the home. Next, for storing the large quantities of grains in the big godowns, specific chemicals treatments are required to protect them from the pests and the microorganisms. We already seen large quantity and the small quantity. In the small quantity you can see what? Only jute bags and the metallic bands. But in the large quantity you can see that silos, as you have seen. In the small quantity we are using that what? Dried neem leaves. Dried neem leaves. But you can see in the large quantities of grains, the large quantities is for storing the large quantities of the grains, by storing the large quantities of the seeds. The time in the big godowns, the specific use the chemical treatments. We apply the chemical treatments. That is required. The chemical treatment is required to protect them from the pests and the microorganisms. Microorganisms, the large ones. But in the small quantity we are using that dried neem leaves. Dried neem leaves. But in the large quantity we are using the chemical treatments. We are using that specific chemical treatments. It is required to protect them from pests and the microorganisms. Pests and from the microorganisms. Clear all of you? Yes. Dried neem leaves are used for storing food grains at the home and also for storing the large quantities of grains, for storing the large quantities of the seeds. In a big godowns, the specific chemicals treatment are required. Specific chemical treatments are required to protect them from the pests and the microorganisms. From the pests and the microorganisms. Clear all of you? Okay. Now see, the many people living in the coastal areas, they consume the fishes as a major part of their diet. You can see depends upon the environmental factors. We are using the different kinds of foods. But especially in the coastal area, people mainly use that fish as major part of their diets. That's all. So you can decide in the fisheries, the fish cultures are very important in the coastal areas. We have just seen that the process of the crop production, it involves a number of steps. We already know the preparation of the soil, the sowing method, the adding the manure and the fertilizers, and the irrigation, and the protecting from the weeds, and the harvesting method, and the storage method. We know already about these steps. As you have seen, the production of the process of crop production, it involves a number of steps. These steps we already know, but it is for example selection of the seeds, sowing, irrigation, harvesting, these all things, etc. Similarly, these steps are very important in the crop production. As you have seen, similarly the animals reared at the home or in the farms have to be provided with the proper food or shelter and the care. How the animals also require proper food and proper shelter and the care. And this is done on the large scale. That is called animal husbandry. Similarly, the animals reared at the home or in farms have to be provided with the proper food and shelter and care to the animals. With the selling some animals. Yes or no? We provide good foods to that animals. We provide good shelter to the animals. It is in a large scale. This is done in a large scale. It is called animal husbandry. Animal husbandry. For example, buffalo, cow, and goat farm. And also you can see that poultry, fisheries. Yes or no? It is called animal husbandry. By the farmers also nowadays it depends on animal husbandry. The time by using that animal husbandry, the farmers earn more money for selling the eggs, for selling the chicken meat, and for selling the goat or sheep. Yes or no? Or for selling the milk, the farmers earn the more money. More money. It is useful. It is economically used for the farmers also. Which one? Animal husbandry. Animal husbandry. Clear all of you? Yes. So this type of animal husbandry is also very important in the agriculture field. It is there in our higher section. Okay. Now this lesson is completed. But now see, in the first one beginning we learn, we understand there is a preparation of soil. First step. Next one, sowing method. We sow the seeds. After preparation of the soil, we sow the seeds. After sowing the seeds, we follow in adding the manures. We add the manures. We add the fertilizers. Afterwards, we see that irrigation. We supply the water to the crops. Afterwards, we see that protecting from the weeds. We using the weedicides and the pesticides in that time. And also after spraying the weedicides and the pesticides, we cut that crops. It means that is a harvesting method. Afterwards, you can see that storage method. So this is a storage method. So this type will be, we completed this lesson. Okay, I'll continue next class. Thank you. Bye.